So you might be trying to find the most collectible Taylor out there, but you missed it. It came out a while back. And now the TV show has launched, and oh my, has it blown up.
They're a little more expensive now.
The Last of Us, Collector's Edition 314 CE. Who would have thunk? It's one of the more expensive Taylors out there on the old Reverb sphere. So click like, subscribe. We're going to dig into the universe of this collectible guitar.
The bell. Don't forget the bell.
That thing.
Bell.
And what like an epic TV show like this can do for, or if the TV show fails and falters, what it can do for the collectability of a guitar too. We'll get to that later.
The Game of Thrones syndrome.
I was going to make it be a spoiler.
It's not a spoiler. They know.
Sneak into
They
it.
watch this channel. They know.
I know. It's like, I am a Game of Thrones. I was watching Tyrion Lannister, the character, not the real person. He's dead for thousands of years. Yeah. I was watching his actor talk about watching the last season because he's been dead for a bit. Spoiler. And he was like, I didn't really understand it, the whole final season. I was like, this is odd. That's weird what they chose to do with that character. Interesting. Disappointment. Anyway, Last of Us just dropped just a few days back. Fantastic show. It's probably one of the best video games of that entire cycle of consoles. You never played the game.
I'm going to take your word for it, yes.
It's a fantastic game. The story is wonderful. We're not going to give any spoilers away here, so if you haven't seen any of it, don't fret, don't worry, and don't mind the flashing lights. I know we're working in a horror shop today.
It's the post-apocalypse here.
We're kind of getting the Last of Us theme. It has something to do with there's some post-apocalyptic stuff that happens. That's all we'll say. But Taylor Guitars did a collaboration with the game back in the day, particularly Last of Us Part 2. And there's a scene where you can actually play a guitar, like sort of like a mini game in the game, and it's a Taylor guitar. And then they made this guitar, and they sold them. They're 314s, limited editions, a little bit like $2,400 type guitars.
Yeah.
It's on a Reverb right now for $8,000.
Pretty good markup there. Pretty good return.
They were sort of like tracking around like that 25, range for a while. Just like you can get in what you got, get out what you got into it type of range. And
which is good, by the way.
That's good for a Taylor guitar.
Well, I feel like that's rare on almost any guitar when you buy new like that. Like right away, immediately.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. You're usually taking a pretty good haircut.
Yeah.
And this is sort of blown up right now. Now, why has this happened? Besides just a TV show.
Because people are nerds.
The Last of Us. I mean, like you sort of missed it, but it was a sort of a little mini cultural phenomenon.
That's fascinating to me because I feel like I'm usually aware of those things. I was totally oblivious to that one.
Because the game is pretty old at this point. So it was the last console cycle, and it was not in the end of that cycle. It was sort of in the middle or maybe the middle of that cycle.
But I mean, I guess I haven't owned a game console in 10 years.
Because you have a sex life. But for those of us who are very active gamers, you can't join our squad on Hell Let Loose now.
Sorry. I know. I kind of want to, right?
It's going to be pretty awesome. We have a 6-man squad out there murdering some Germans. It's going to be wonderful. Or Americans or Russians, whichever side you get put on. You never know. But no, this was a cultural phenomenon. And the point that like I have young people that I've worked with, and Sean, who works here with us, these people just watch the playthrough of this game. Because the story is so good on it. They don't play the game. They just watch it on YouTube.
So Sean's never played it.
He's never played this game.
Watched the playthrough.
He's never played it. Because the game it's old. It's probably, I don't know if it's 8 years old. I'm not positive but that's a long time ago for a game. And,
for a game, yeah.
I mean, I think they're working on Red Dead Redemption too.
God.
Which would be pretty tight. That's a great story as well. And I don't know it all, so don't spoil it to me. If you're trying to talk to me through the screen right now, don't tell me. Because I just played a little bit. I got to meet the art director. It's a really cool person. Cool. It's the game world and the guitar world can intersect pretty gloriously sometimes. So if you are a nerd guitar player and a nerd gamer, welcome home. We're all living together here. No, but it sort of had this cultural touchstone where it really it lives in the Game of Thrones world in certain respects. Is like that no character is safe. We're not going to give away anything from the show, but you know what I mean, right?
I saw that in the show. I was like, wait a minute, because it kind of that. Even after that happened,
it leaves you sort of hollowed.
But I didn't even. It took my brain a minute to. I was like, "Wait a minute, where is she?" That was that.
That was that
final.
Yeah. So
sort of like the Red Wedding.
or it's like even when I read like Game of Thrones book 1, like I got to the chapter with Ned Stark and everything, and I'm
You're
not,
like,
not
wait,
spoiling
wait,
much,
what?
but there's something dramatic happens, and I had to reread the chapter because I was on an airplane.
Because you can't believe that.
They wouldn't have done that. This
No.
is
he's the main guy. No,
no,
sorry.
and then it's just a domino effect, and you're like, God,
And every time you think you figured out who the main players are,
they do it to you again. That is, I actually do want to rewatch Game of Thrones one day. I'll watch it when my kids are old enough, I think.
part of me wants to reread it, but I
haven't finished the books.
I know. I feel like there's no point. Will they? I don't know if they'll ever finish the books.
Maybe he's just like, they
Yeah, I
beefed it
feel
so
like
much, I'm out.
right.
I made so much money, who cares?
Who cares?
No, they also had a GS Mini. That's going for $1,800 right now on the Reverb Sphere as well, which we think's hilarious for GS Mini.
It's kind of awesome.
Because
So,
I wanted the American Doll GS Mini when that came out, but it was only offered direct sale. It wasn't a dealer thing, so we couldn't get him, which was frustrating. It's the same, I think, for these Last of Us guitars. I couldn't get one. I wanted one just to keep. I didn't realize they were going to be worth something.
yeah, no.
I thought it was cool. If I'm going to get 314, that's what I want. I don't want a normal 314. I want the crazy dumb one.
Are there any other guitars like this that shot up like a cultural? Especially, I feel like this is way later. If that game is 8 years old.
Well, the show just dropped.
Right,
The
exactly.
show is like the big tent pole for HBO right now. This is going to be their biggest show for sure of the year. They've spent, I think, $15 million per episode, which puts it at $150 million for the season.
I'm just saying, like,
math,
it's
brilliant.
not like we've seen that on the Game of Thrones.
Well, no, those guitars were like super sought after,
And
but it was
then-
before the final season dropped.
Final season, bam.
And then the final 2 seasons sort of like started like people were like, wait a minute, what's happening? And then there's only one more season left. It's got how many episodes? How are they gonna wrap this all up? Oh, they wrapped it up all right. It's fast. But this, I think they've already got season 2 greenlit.
Right.
And it's not saying this. We just find it fascinating
It is fascinating.
that this is a thing that happens every once in a while.
Well, it's fascinating to me that guitar, totally based on video game turned into a TV series. I mean,
Now, if you
more than doubles the price that they're going for.
But this is like outrageously. Now I don't know if it's going to get 8K. It might. Somebody might be like, I just love the show so much. And if you are a gamer and you have played Last of Us 2, which I'm not going to talk about in detail, and I don't do spoilers because I'm passionate about entertainment and enjoying it. But the guitar has a very big part in that. And it's just, and I hope to God they do some changes just for the. I'm not saying it was bad. I don't want to have to experience some of what happens in game 2.
He can't relive it.
It's just too traumatic. It's too traumatic. Don't do this to us.
So you played both games and beat them. You finished both games.
Well, you want to hear the sad part? No, I've just done some of the watch through and listen to people talk about game 2.
Oh, okay.
I have
Like Warhammer.
no. I feel like I've gotten all I need out of Warhammer right now too. I went hard for like a few weeks, and like I watched all the YouTube videos, got like the basic backstory. 'Cause, I mean, there's so many books. You can't. I was like, which book should I read? There's just too many. I can't even get into it.
Yeah, that's daunting.
It's just too. They're like, oh, there's like 180 books on this something. I'm like,
Holy
what?
shit, no.
And that's just one area. I'm good. I'm gonna just watch the YouTube videos, unfortunately. And
It seems like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. Like there's no hope. It's like,
it was just.
this hellish world
I mean,
with infinite lore.
but
that you read about.
it is pretty amazing to create this world though. That's why I love entertainment and I love music. Just these worlds you create and like the fact that The Last of Us is somehow tapped into like this weird. I think Taylor Guitars got lucky with it because they just throw they're like cool. Those take risks with stuff. Yeah, sure, this sounds cool.
That is true. I mean, I don't.
Thumbs up to Taylor.
But I also don't see, because we've seen Martins and different, like, because there's that story that goes around about the Martin where the guy trashes it because he thinks it's a prop.
Yes, that's the Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
But that was a real vintage Martin.
No, exactly. I'm just saying, I just don't see any other guitar company capitalizing on this or like going all in the way like Taylor Guitars.
No, it just they went hard in with it, and I think because they're going in with us on some stupid partnerships too, just to have some fun, and like they're like, yeah, let's give it a shot. We like having fun.
Yeah,
They're a fun guitar company. They're not smart, but they're particularly like the direct folks we work with, like
Sure
Don
are
and
good
Aaron.
looking.
They are
Very
attractive,
very
man.
attractive.
Don's a super good looking dude. And like I'm not gonna say his age on camera, but like he's older than you would think.
Yes.
That dude is like.
You're like, oh, Don's.
Aaron Dablow is svelte. Don is like he's just like an old school sex machine, and like you see him back in the day too. Like he's good looking now, but then he was like '80s hair metal dude too.
which is kind of wild.
Like just
When you see pictures.
destroying
Kind of amazing.
the West Coast. There's so many little Dons. Like just he populated the West Coast, I think. Like, you know, Santa Monica is like all Don's like, offspring.
He's sort of like the Genghis Khan of
Santa Monica.
Santa Monica.
I think he's settled down by the time he moved to Florida. I hope.
I mean, we hope.
And he has
We
a
don't
beautiful
know.
wife, and I think he's a faithful,
That's
faithful
true.
chap.
That is true. He's a good fellow.
But those times before the golden age, the golden line, we call him.
So are we? Here's the bringing it all full circle.
Bring it home. We gotta get out of
Are
here.
we going to see another mini guitar resurgence because of? I think we've already had a lot with stuff over the last few years.
Yeah, I think this
Is
helps.
going to be one that
I hope it
pushes it.
Well, we've
Acoustic
only seen
guitar,
we've only seen episode
particularly.
1, but if they utilize it within the show, I think it will inspire. Because I see all these young girls in particular, because The Last of Us has a very strong female character.
Yep.
And it's like sort of girls in the alt universe too love this character because she's a little bit crazy and fun and weird, and like when she got spunk and she's mean sometimes, but she's a survivor, you know. But she's wonderful, and I hope they do her well in the show. But the guitar could pump more people up because I see people playing these songs from it all the time.
Well, I mean, there wasn't a ton of like actual guitar in the story, but it was everywhere, right? Little Easter eggs of like
Well, there is
guitar
that
themes
theme
everywhere.
though. It's a simple arpeggio.
Yeah.
And it has this weird one little off note that he goes to, and it's just a wonderful theme. It's easy to play, lots of open notes, but when you play it, you sound really good, which is neat. Like to have, and there's some good examples of it on YouTube.
There you go.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of it. Thanks again for joining us. Check out that subscription page if you guys want to. It's really going to be awesome. Our contests coming up are just starting, so they'll be popping out sort of February, but we're shooting them now.
Yeah.
So prepare thyselves, and can't do those live, unfortunately. We have to do too much shenanigans. So stay tuned. Thanks for joining us again.
See you next time.
Peace be with you.